Hello folks, it's Soul and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show where today I am just going to sit. That's right, I'm just going to sit. Bob's going to take a break this week and I'm going to put some B-roll up on the right-hand side. That is my birthday to myself. That's really, really sad. Of course, I'm going to thank the Rompin' Stompin' Brutosaur Party over on Twitch, and a big thanks to Pony for consistently leading the charge, you frickin' maniac. And of course to the valued patrons, including newcomers, GA Spotlight, or Gas Potlight maybe? Edward, Robin, and Evan. Thanks a ton for supporting the channel, and let's just get right to it. This week was a little bit of a surprise for the Shadowlands Alpha with a preview for Maldraxxus and the Necrolord's Covenant that I personally didn't think would come only a week after Ardenweald and the Nightfade Covenant was made available in the Alpha, although that's kind of broken, but well, whatever. As of this recording, the Alpha is not up, so I can't say with 100% certainty that Maldraxxus is in fact testable, but I'm about 80% confident that it's meant to be at least. So here we are. With all 4 leveling zones intact, I'm going to conduct a few leveling simulations over the next couple of weeks to determine just how much time it takes to get through the 4 zone storylines, which off the top of my head, I'm going to guess is like a little bit under 10 hours if I took a few detours and tried really hard. That way we're going to get some idea of just how long it's going to take for the average player to get to max level. So look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. And in some more big advances on the character customization front, in this case, Blizzard officially announced the expansion of Druid customization, allowing players to set colors for their forms, as well as any forms that they've unlocked in their WoW career. So here we go. Let's cue the comments about the Mage Tower. Go, come on. Start typing. Meanwhile, it's time for the Tauren to get their pass on additional options, and the word that comes to mind when taking a first glance at them over at Wowhead is wholesome. In what's been data mined so far, Tauren are going to get additional selections of horns and accessories, hairstyles, eye colors, yada yada yada. But curiously enough, on the eye color side of things, no blind options. But in exchange is something that I think is even better, long-ass bangs. That's right. Maybe more options for eyes will come in later builds, but I think it's absolutely hilarious to see this dopey-looking Tauren still manage to probably kick your ass. Meanwhile, the ladies will get flowers in their hair. And on top of that, the long bangs. Now, imagine that this Tauren happened to be like a Death Knight or something. Arguably the most impressive visual to come out of this build so far is the so-called Death Elemental mount, a variant of the Shaman class mount from Legion with a paint job that is straight out of Torghast. This, along with the legendaries that we'll be able to craft from the Forge of Domination in the Maw or Torghast or whatever, give an example of what Torghast is going to reward to players. This mount, for example, might be a reward for climbing the twisting corridors and obtaining the currency needed to buy it or something, or maybe it's an achievement for climbing to a certain floor within a season. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's speculate for a moment just how Torghast is going to work from season to season, because it may work similarly to Mythic Dungeons. Let's pretend that there's an achievement for climbing all the way to floor 50 in Season 1 of Shadowlands, and that awards this mount as an achievement. Cool. So next season, with higher item levels, catch-ups, upgraded crafting recipes, and so on, the overall level of Torghast, like the item level, is going to go up. So the new season's floor 30 is going to feel like last season's floor 50 or something. This could be one way Torghast can work. Not the way, but just one way. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that concept. A very curious stat has appeared on this build thanks to some Wowhead data mining. Here it is. The tooltip speaks for itself, a proc that is based on some stats called PvP power, and, well, there you have it. It's got a lot of conversations going, but what is this, really? Is it going to be an actual stat on PvP gear? If so, it looks like we're going to be going back to a system where dipping your feet into PvP battlegrounds means putting up with getting stomped match after match, and basically, like, corpse run your way towards being viable, and then you can start playing, which some have argued is the right way to do PvP. But this stat might be far less than what we think. PvP power could just be nothing more than a reflection of our character's item level and specialization, all for the purpose of tuning the way class abilities and buffs like this work, making PvP power not a stat that we work on necessarily, but more like a coefficient that Blizzard just assigns to us. But what do you think? And do you think PvP power should make a return? Last week, Blizzard sent out a controversial-ish kind of tweet supporting movements against systemic racism and police brutality, and obviously the fans were 100% supportive. It turns out they were not. Critics pointedly called them out for not supporting the Hong Kong protests when they were put under the spotlight, and that's been talked to death already, right? Although a few commenters below would disagree. Watch. Don't worry though, I'm not going to be as preachy as I was last week. Anyway, it's not just the double standard accusations, but critics pointed out that, well, Blizzard just made a statement and no actions, or virtue signaling, the latest phrase to make you feel like you got a big brain. On the other hand, other companies came out to pledge financial support for fighting against systemic racism, and Blizzard hasn't been shy about coming out in support for other causes and making charitable donations, so why haven't they put their money where their mouths are? Apparently it's because they were counting the money. In a more recent tweet, Activision Blizzard pledged up to $4 million in support of programs fighting systemic racism. Not to preempt the comments that are going to pop up below, but diverting $4 million in the Activision war chest towards a good cause is the total opposite of virtue signaling. But let's break it down for some context. $2 million is going to come from donation matching between Activision Blizzard itself and its employees. Meanwhile, $2 million will come from billionaire Bobby Kotick himself, who I should point out that he took off with $30 million in compensation in 2018. Just a quick reminder, the Patreon link is in the description below, Bobby. So now we're just waiting for whatever news bits or announcements that are left after the June 9th stream with Ian Hazzikostas and John Haidt was pushed back. Ardenweald and Maldraxxus are now testable, or at least, they're supposed to be, if I'm right. Meanwhile, Blizzard announced a Warsong Gulch tournament for WoW Classic, and information on that is going to be linked in the video description. Numerous class changes are underway, and this week Blizzard addressed feedback on Warlocks, and Death Knights, and Mages, and Shaman. Elsewhere, the most violent moments in the current civil unrest here in the United States are hopefully behind us. Sony went ahead with their PS5 announcements a week after wanting to step aside to give more attention to the protests. Blizzard may follow suit and move forward with making a media splash as early as next week, but any advance notice of it remains to be seen. That about takes care of the news, but stick around for just a little bit, please, because I want to mention a few members of the community that I've interacted with over the past month who deserve a little bit more attention. One of the most fun things about being a content creator is to talk with fellow counterparts about the game that we love, to share thoughts and ideas in a space that's a little bit outside of our comfort zone, outside of the usual formats that we've crafted for ourselves. I had a really fun conversation with Sil from Whispers of War, a podcast that features other notable WoW fans, and apparently, I'm a notable WoW fan. Yeah! I talked with the really enthusiastic folks over at Warcraft Radio on the state of the alpha and some of the common gripes in WoW. And most recently, I talked with the guys at Ready Check Pull to talk about how different the Shadowlands alpha is to previous expansions and some of the challenges of being a WoW commentator / pundit / know-it-all, not really. Every day there's budding voices within the community who want to share, and not all the time is it just the regurgitated opinions of one or two of the most popular voices out there. Beyond my obvious shilling, I'd like to think that I challenge some of the more often heard thoughts and try to understand the numerous microcosms that come together to create this very diverse WoW community. So I encourage you to visit these folks and give them a listen. I'm going to have links to the podcasts that I had with them in the description below, because in all truthiness, I'd rather have you give me a listen. But, check them out too. Haha. That's going to be it for now, but stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be talking about soul binds very soon. It's one of the last, and in my opinion, one of the most important features to pay attention to when it comes to choosing your covenant. And of course, there's more Shadowlands coverage on the way, so I encourage you to like today's video and to subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. And here's a contest. I want you to wish me happy birthday in a comment below, and next week I will choose one person, to win a base copy of Shadowlands, and everyone is eligible. Stay breezy, guys.